As God lives before whom I stand, I send forth my word into the earth, and I declare that I call forth the heavens and the earth as a witness. I call forth my guardians as a witness. My soul's oldest name, it means water in Indigenous American language, and it means the name of the first woman in the native language of Black Hebrew people. And what I have to say is that on the evening of September 25th, going into the 26th, there's supposed to be a prayer vigil at the National Mall for a national and global return to God. And there's supposed to be a prophetic word given by Jonathan Cahn. And this is unprecedented. At no point in American history has a prophetic pastor ever been allowed to speak to the masses from the nation's capital, with coverage from international and also nationwide media. And I just want to say to the spirit authorities, the Malakim, whom I have called to witness, I want to say that many of you know that a person does not have to have money, popularity, beauty, or power in order to be an authority figure in the kingdom of the Most High God. And for most average people, that's a huge problem in their eyes for obvious reasons. If your authority doesn't come from beauty, popularity, or power, most people, especially my people, I know, don't have nothing to do with you. Don't want to hear what you have to say a lot of times. There's some exceptions, but, we're dealing with the masses. And what I want to say is that the prayer vigil on the 26th, 2 days before the Yom Kippur Judgment Day, it should be thoroughly and dramatically rejected by the highest spiritual powers and rejected with prejudice. And here's the reason why I say this. The United States federal government is keeping one foot on the necks of law-abiding citizens who are not trying to use their reproductive organs as weapons of mass destruction. They have one foot on those types of individuals' necks just because they're easy targets, and they have the other foot in the church door. The people of this nation must learn to never approach the Creator under any faith system with one foot on the necks of those who don't deserve it, and the other foot in the church or the temple door. That's not acceptable. Through gentrification and fraud and inappropriate approaches to the throne room such as this, they've trashed the name of the Most High God for thousands of years. In all nations, this offense has been committed, and it should not be allowed. When any man or woman wants to come to the Creator's courts of heaven for the Yom Kippur Judgment Day, if they want to come to the Malakim to state their cause, they need to come correct. At the time of the prayer vigil that is scheduled for the 26th, preceding the Yom Kippur Judgment Day, they still have civil rights activist Leonard Peltier locked up in a federal prison in Florida, serving a sentence of more than 50 years for a crime that he never committed. One of the men in the FBI killed his own co-worker and pinned the crime on Leonard Peltier and the Lakota people. He's a law-abiding citizen. He is a man who comes from a group of people that does not use their reproductive organs as a weapon to crowd others out. They're not those kinds of people, although many others who came here from across the ocean are. And has he been set free? No. They got a foot on his neck while also keeping a foot in the church by trying to approach you inappropriately without setting this man free first. In addition to that, the FBI sent out orders from Director Robert Mueller, who has stepped down, labeling all civil rights activists enemies of the state. That is politics based on pure bestial animal instinct. This is a chieftainship masquerading as a democratic republic. Doesn't matter if it's a nice chief or a mean chief in the seat. That's what it is. This is not a true democratic republic. And at the time of the scheduled prayer vigil at the National Mall with a so-called prophetic word from Jonathan Cahn for this upcoming event, have they repealed that order sent out to the FBI to label all civil rights activists enemies of the state? Have they repealed it? No. Robert Mueller, he stepped down from his position, but that order sent out to all of America's police stations from the FBI, it has not been repealed. And so in this way, too, they have one foot on the necks of law-abiding citizens who are not using their reproductive organs as a weapon to crowd others out. And then they got the other foot in the church. And again, you hire divine powers for Mother's Day 2015, the year that my son was born. You sent a blizzard and a tropical storm to hit America simultaneously on Mother's Day weekend. You acknowledge the pain of thousands of colored women whose voices go unheard, women who are not on drugs, not alcoholics, not abusive, not negligent to their children, just women who are just plain old not protected, not cared for. You sent these disasters Mother's Day weekend. They didn't have a voice, but you made a statement by creating those anomalous disturbances. And in spite of the fact that you did this, the offenses didn't stop. I'm a first-hand witness because I had to live through their whole streamlined system, which includes the databases connected to medical facilities, and all the many mothers who did not deserve that, all the many mothers who are law-abiding citizens, who are hard-working mothers, doing right by their families, who have been victims. We still don't have justice. We still don't have a voice. We still don't have our children back. I'm on disability assistance. My back and my hips have progressively been growing worse. And instead of having help, I had slander and aggression, unfair judgment, and fraud. Not just from whites, but from my own people and other races too. Nothing has been done to help colored mothers who have been victims of this trafficking system that is government funded. And I believe it's written in the Old Testament that he who kidnaps a man deserves death. It's also written, do not deny justice to widows and fatherless children. You know, you also stated in the book of Isaiah, chapter 1, judge thoroughly and fairly between one man and another. Also plead the cause of widows and fatherless children. It is part of American popular culture to promote supporting the children but not the mothers. And there's all manner of fraud and slander and child abuse that comes about as a result of it. And it's not just whites, you know, who do that. There's a lot of blacks who support that way of thinking. You know, I mean, to hear some people to hear some people talk, you would think that it's a crime for a mother to collect child support, even if the father has a decent income. The laundry list of offenses committed by this nation and others is like several miles long, but these people are planning to approach your throne room in a national prayer vigil along with a so-called prophetic word preceding Judgment Day, but yet they haven't even done the most basic things before approaching you for forgiveness, like letting that innocent man, Leonard Peltier, out of his jail cell. They haven't done the most basic things, like repealing that order sent out from the FBI to all of America's law enforcement agencies, labeling civil rights activists laws of the state. Those two most basic things, they haven't even done that. The order sent out against law-abiding colored mothers who are not using their wombs as weapons of mass destruction. We're not doing it. Black women are less than 12% of the population. Native American women are less than 1% of the population. When you exclude immigrants, indigenous women, you know, our population is really tiny. When you exclude Africans, South Americans, people from other countries who are colored, they've been replacing us. And the orders sent out against us women who are outnumbered, those orders against us have not been repealed. We have not received justice. We haven't received financial restitution. We have not received reunification with our children who were abused and traumatized intentionally. The most basic efforts have not been made going into this so-called prayer vigil of return. And the people in positions of power who are guilty of having one foot in the church and the other foot on the necks of law-abiding citizens who are not overpopulating as a weapon. You know, all of that, those people were put into those positions of power because they represent the deepest desires of the majority. The majority put them there. They reflect the people at a grassroots level who put them in those positions. And you know this because you said exactly that through your prophet John Paul Jackson from Streams Ministries in Flower Mound, Texas. So you're aware of this. You're aware that those problem people who have not made even the most basic concessions before approaching you, who have not confessed it and not asked their victims for forgiveness, these people who approach you with blood on their hands, innocent blood, you know that they got where they are because they reflect the desires of the majority of the people who were under them. And so I say, reject the prayer vigil on the 26th with prejudice to make it crystal clear that the Most High God is not a God of white supremacy. You're not a God of black supremacy or mestizo supremacy. To make it clear that you're not a God of human instinct, injustice, and bias. Don't let people approach you with one foot on the neck of people who don't deserve it and the other foot in the church. Don't let them do that. Command respect. Dramatically cast that prayer vigil down. Give a solid no. If the most basic concessions are not made, you command Jonathan Cahn to cancel his prophetic word or suffer consequences if he speaks anyway, and then suffer the consequences in front of witnesses if he disobeys.